guys, this is Tina. Welcome back to Plan a Little Farm Life. Today I am doing a homeschool Bible curriculum review on the high school Bible that we have used in the past and are currently using. I'm going to do the best I can. I do not have everything that we have used in the past. I don't have a lot of it anymore. Because when we moved, I kind of cleaned house, so to speak, and didn't want to move things that we weren't going to be using. So I'm going to start with what we have here in person and go over things. And then I will talk about some of the ones that we have used and the pros and cons, what we liked and didn't like about it. So first off is Master Books. This is... I have to find the proper title for it. I will put it down below when I get it here. But this is one of their Bibles for high school. It's 4 books, and it's 2 volumes of Demolishing Supposed Bible Contradictions and 2 of How Do We Know the Bible is True. It starts out with, I believe... don't quote me, but it alternates. So it goes from demolishing contradictions, and then they do volume 1 of How Do We Know the Bible's True. That's the first semester, and then they go back and do this one and the second one again. These my daughter absolutely loved. She is the most studious one out of all of them. All my kids, and my middle child did this curriculum as well. My older child did not. We brought Master Books in after he was a senior high school graduate. So this, there is question sheets and summary sheets, and also quizzes with this curriculum. This one is dependent on, I can't remember, honestly, last year. One of these has like 4 or 5 question fill-in answers. The other one, I believe, is more of in fact, I think this one might be the fill-in-the-blank answers. And I think this one is more of a tell me why kind of combat. I could be wrong. It's been a while. So, but to give you an example, Demolishing Supposed Bible Contradictions, Volume 1. It talks about a lot. So this is the first page, table of contents there. So it'll ask a question. And then it will go in to, let me get to the first one. So the first one, was Abel eating meat soon after the curse when he wasn't supposed to be, since he kept the flock and sacrificed an animal in Genesis 4, verse 2-4. And so it goes on, and these are very, like, easy and quick. So, like, this is... this one, and it explains, and it gives you the Bible verse references, and it talks about how people might say, well, in the Bible it says this, that's, a contradiction. It explains the context that it was written in and that should be considered when looking at this information. And then How Do We Know the Bible is True? Let me see if I can find the first. So you can see the different authors in here. This is the first one, the first volume of this one. And so there's obviously more. So the introduction is by Ken Ham. It says, what does biblical authority have to do with today's church and culture? And it talks about the change in culture, the church is a relic, that type of thing, calling for reformation. Then Jason Lyle goes into chapter 1 about how do we know the Bible's true, and it's some typical answers, subjective standard, begging the question. So they go in and talk about these topics, and they're not super long. Some of them are like a page and a half per little topic. Let me see if I can find. Do miracles really happen? This is chapter 9 of volume 1 by Paul Taylor. And it goes in to talk about the word miracle in the Old Testament, what it is, what it means, and then the word miracle in the New Testament and how it pertains to that, and the occurrence of miracles throughout the Old Testament, the miracles of Jesus, witnesses, and miracles in evolution. So you can see it goes in, and there is a ton of questions in here. There are 2 volumes. I will leave a link down below to all of the curriculum content that I talk about today. But this, by far, I was hesitant to try master books when we got this, just for the simple fact that my kids were headed into a higher level of learning and a lot less micromanaging. And when I looked at it the first time, my daughter was in middle school. I think my second son was also in middle school, maybe 9th grade. And I thought, I with 3 kids, I cannot, I can't sit down and discuss with everybody all the time these questions. And I think it maybe was the level that I was looking at. I'm not sure. But when we got to the high school level, I revisited because I was looking for a curriculum that the 2 youngers could do. And I buy one curriculum and they both can share it and do it. This was the one that broke in on us. So this one, they really enjoyed it. They got a lot out of it, and it was a good choice. So, and I'm going to tell you you'll find out later how some things were not good choices for us. Now, when I say that in regards to us and our family and that particular child, because again, not everybody is going to feel the same way. I can only give you our perspective. So this year, my younger 2, one is a senior, one's a sophomore. They are doing comparative religions, practical apologetics for the real world, and this is the teacher's guide. These grades up here are subjective. I know my daughter can handle the content, so we're just going with it. When she gets to a point where she's stuck, then she comes and discusses. But I really like this one. My son has the first book. I'll show you the teacher's manual in a minute. So the volume 1 is the Counterfeits of Christianity. And so it talks about religions and how they have stemmed from Christianity, and say that they are part of the Christian sect when they may or may not be. They may be, but with conditions, that type of thing. There is a timeline kind of a thing, map that comes with this curriculum, and I really love it. I'm trying to find a place to put it up on the wall so that we can all reference it as they go through it. The second volume is Moralistic, Mythical, and Mysticism Religions. And again, Brody Hodge and Roger Patterson. So this one talks about, so these are some of the religions that they talk about in here. And I haven't read through it myself yet. I haven't read the I didn't read last year's fully. I just read sections when we needed to discuss things. So it talks about it, and so like the Eastern mysticism religions, the overview. Let me find. Okay, New Age movement, pantheism, and monism. And so I believe there's like an introduction. Okay, there, and then it talks about the factors that gave rise, like how it came about, why it became a movement or a new religion, when, common characteristics of the New Age movement. Okay, so they're explaining these things, and then it talks about the New Age view of key Bible doctrines, the view of the Bible, the view of Jesus, man and salvation, view of end times, statistics in the New Age movement, debunking New Age claims. And this is only this chapter, but they all kind of go through and mimic that layout. Okay, so they're kind of diving in briefly to the bare bones of each religion. Now, of course, there's no way to go over every religion in the world, but there are a lot in here. So this has suggestions for dialogue with New Agers. So it kind of preps you a little bit on, and there's what, 2.5, 3 pages. It preps you on maybe an approach that you might take with each different religion. Like somebody, you're talking about a religion and they are of that religion. It kind of, in the back of your brain, you're like, oh, I remember I read about this. This is a good way to combat that, to talk to them on their level with their beliefs. And if you understand, at least have a base understanding of that religion, then you can combat it. You can talk and bring the Bible in and show them that the Bible is true. I like at the end, there's closing thoughts, and then there's a summary of their beliefs. And so the conclusion, and then it's got a summary of all their beliefs. Now there is a worksheet, and that's pretty much it. Besides some quizzes, there's a worksheet that they're going to fill out if you choose, about the individual's religion's view on God, on sin, on the authority and revelation, on salvation, on creation. And I kind of wanted my kids to have something that they could combat all that is going on in the world and all the craziness. I wanted them to have a better understanding than just oh yeah, this religion exists kind of thing. And I think this curriculum is really going to pull its weight. The third book is Atheistic and Humanistic Religions and Beliefs. You really need to define what a religion is anymore. So if you hear, these are my dogs coming in. So this is the whole of the table of contents for book 3. So you can see it's not very many, but it does talk briefly about some of it and that. So for the teacher's manual, let me move these over. I took every master book curriculum that I have ever seen. The teacher's manual has a schedule, and this one, okay, here it is. This one still has it in. The science one that my daughter's doing, we took the schedule out so she could put it with her regular schedule calendar thing. So it breaks it down week 1, week 2, week 3, and each day. And these are affordable enough. This one was $25. So if it's a curriculum that we're going to keep, then more than likely, I don't care if they write in it. But since 2 of them are using this, I kind of said, we copied this one for them to have their own individual so they can mark it off when they get done. So it goes through, it breaks it down into days and into quarters and semesters. And then this is pretty much how this is laid out. There's just, these are the main, this is all of the worksheets except for 2. They have 2 at the end that are different, and I haven't quite read those over yet, but this is just a summary where they lay out, for that religion, they lay out, like in their, own words, how all of this reflects on this religion. Now, you can do this written or you can do it oral. Either way is fine. And then on the back, it says, complete the following essay, which is worth 40 points. Summarize your own understanding regarding biblical beliefs. So, again, they're putting it into their words to really make sure that they understand what they're reading. Let me see if I can find. There we go. Oh, almost. Okay, so I'm not sure. These are 2 off the wall, like day 160 and day 176. So I think it's, yeah, again, I haven't gone into complete detail, but these are different questions. And again, you can have them answer in an essay form, like a paragraph of like 5 or 6 sentences that explain the question, that answer it for them in their own words, or you can do it orally, and it's not really a big deal. I do have them do the quizzes to make sure there's quizzes for each section, I guess. Let me see how many there are in this one. In this one, there's a couple of tests. So there's, let's see, where do the quizzes end? There we go. There are 10 quizzes, so that's for the entire school year. And then there are 3 tests. So they're all a little different. So like this one is a test, and it has some fill in the blank, and just to categorize, I guess, whether it's biblical, Christianity, church creator, and unification church. This one is compare and contrast, kind of an essay. And again, there's essay that what I like about master books is that they have the kids put these in their own words, so that you can see, and it opens up conversations to whether they really understand, whether they grasp the concept, if you need to help them clarify things. And it does have answers in the back of this book to the worksheets and to the quizzes and tests. And so I honestly, I don't know. I honestly don't remember how much this set was, because I got it from the Homeschool store. I love my store. Anyway, so these at the Homeschool store that I went to, I think the teacher's manuals are about $20 to $25 a piece, average. These 2 books were $15 a piece, and these were $13 a piece. The religions books, they were a set, and I want to say they were like 30-ish maybe. So it is a small investment, but comparatively over some of the other stuff, it is a little much better on affordability. So before we go into what we've done before, I'm going to go get a drink. I'll be right back. Okay, so from this point on, we do not have the curriculum itself in hand, but I did go look online, and I will put it up here for a screenshot so that you can see what I'm talking about and what I'm looking at. I do have it on my phone. I will tell you what I don't have, and maybe I'll get a screenshot of it, is Sunlight. And we like Sunlight. We love Sunlight. Sunlight is a very good program. You do need to have an avid reader, have someone who is not a reluctant reader or a troubled reader, because it's nothing but reading. It's reading literature for your Bible history and literature. Language they use, another program that they bring in, and spelling, vocab they use. I think they use Wordly Wise. We didn't do everything. We didn't do language, but we did literature, history, and Bible for a while. Excuse me. So with Sunlight, you get a schedule, and I'll try to put one up here, just a sample of it. And so it breaks everything down by subject and by day. And that's really, really good. It helps the kids be it helps you as the parent, and it helps the kids when they get old enough to be a little bit more independent. It breaks things down. And what my daughter did is we just had a copy for her that we would, put in her binder. And as she completed that particular thing, she would just check off the box. And that just helped her stay on track. And sometimes her page looked like this with check marks because she would get further along in Bible, but not have as much time to read the literature books for that day or the history. So she would, and eventually she caught up. But just sometimes you have a little bit more time, sometimes you don't have enough time. And we really like that. But as far as Bible goes, it's good, but it's more, and I really liked how they had them reading straight out of the Bible. It would give you a chapter to read a day, and you would read that chapter. But I do not remember, and that could be in the parent one that we just didn't use that much of. There could be discussion questions in there. There probably is. I will find out for you here, and I'll if there is, I'll put a sample if I can find it up here. It's more of an outline. If you laid it out in a list, it's more of a, read this chapter, read this chapter, read this chapter, and you could go through your own and check them off. So if you're buying it just for that, I would say don't buy it. If you're doing the history and the literature, absolutely go ahead, get the curriculum and add the Bible in there. You may even use that as an extra, or use it as a family devotional. If you're doing it with multiple children, do it all together. And there were times that, because I had 3 kids and they were doing separate things, my voice would get tired. And so with the read alouds and everything else, going over it with my daughter, I would have it on the Kindle and I would have it read to us, just to give my voice a break for the day. I don't have that problem much anymore because they're all independent, and I don't have to worry with that. So that's as far as Sunlight goes. We really enjoyed some of the books. Some of them we did not. Some of them we didn't agree with the choice of book. I won't say that the book was bad. We just didn't agree with the choice of book as far as language. And when I reached out to talk to them about certain words in some of these books, they, and it's a small company, so there's only so much you can do. Not every person in the company has done every level. So it's understandable, but they really couldn't comment on it. They, like anything else, you would say, if you don't agree with it, don't read it and just set it aside. So we no longer use Sunlight, but we kind of use that outline, that principle of things, where my daughter has requested this history. And so she wanted to do American history this year. So we used the Joy Hakeem for history, and we used our own literature choices as far as books we had for history and literature. So we used that as an outline, kind of like, okay, this is what they did. And we, because it wasn't worth buying for the Bible only, but that's a whole nother topic. So I'm going to go over this. For a while, we did Abeka. And Abeka is great. Abeka can be dry, but I'm going to share my screen recordings up here with you, and I'm going to talk about what you're seeing. So first off, we're going to talk about the kings of Israel, and the table of contents here shows the topics, and it does have maps in there, and it has outlines that I really like. This was a nice layout to break things down, and shows what they did. This is a screen of, sorry about that. So we'll go back through. It kind of broke everything down. This is what they need, and then they do have memory verses. We chose not to do those. We read them, but not choose to memorize them specifically. This is a table or timeline, and I really enjoyed that. Abeka in this level is laid out like an outline, and I really like that. It gave them the topic, it gave them the chapter and verse, and it gave them a summary, and they were responsible for going to the Bible and reading that selection. And in that, then it expands and it shows how things move. And you'll see there's an application. These are not the questions that they have to answer as far as the paperwork, I guess, the bookwork. The application questions are to make them think and how to apply what they've just read to what they're doing. These are questions of review and mastery. These are in the parent teacher book. And so I actually just typed them up and had them printed. That's all the material you need. This is part of the teacher's manual. It is set up as more for a private school. So if you had, and we didn't do the songs or the music CDs or anything like that, but this breaks it down for a teacher. So if you're doing it in a co-op, this is a good thing to follow, but you have to meet like every day. So there is that one. Let me see. Then, let me get that one out of there. I liked Abeka for some of these lower level high school. I liked it because of the outline aspect of it. It didn't tell them exactly what to think. It kind of summarized it. It gave the reference of where it came from so that they can go and read more on their own. That's what I told my kids. I said, look, this is the summary, this is the outline, and then you need to read these verses, these chapters, and expand your knowledge on this so that you can answer these questions. Excuse me. And when we, I had them answer the questions, and then I would go over them with them because, again, everybody was working independently and I was rotating through students. So I had them write their thoughts down right after they did the lesson. Write your thoughts on these questions. And then we went over them to discuss whether they were correct or incorrect, or if there was a different point of view they needed to look at in that. So, that was the Kings of Israel. My 2 boys did that for 9th grade. Now for 10th grade, they did the Bible doctrines. And so here's the table of contents for that. And I thought this was going to be a good basis for an adulthood belief. Like why and where these concepts come from, and the doctrines from the Bible and why they're written. So you'll see the introduction there. So it tells you why to study the Bible doctrines. Excuse me, I'm sitting on the floor. So the next screen, there we go. So again, it's outline format. And so it explains these things, summarizes it, but still has them go and look it up in the Bible. So I like how it starts out with who wrote the Bible. Because yes, God wrote the Bible, but he wrote it through men. And it explains why, and I believe how they were chosen. So these tan boxes I like because they are an expansion and a more explanation on things you might not necessarily read or know. And the next one, actually the next two, I should say, were 12th grade. I had my older son do them, or start on them actually, because when I got them, I was under the impression that they would still follow the format. Now with Abeka, there is the teacher manual, the student book, the quiz and test answer key, the daily question, and then the daily question answer key. And then there's a CD and then a songbook. We never did the CD or songbooks, so I can't comment on those, but I really liked how the Bible Doctrines and the Kings of Israel was written and laid out. That seemed to work really well for our family at the time. My daughter was, I was set to put her in that, and she decided she wanted to do keep doing Sunlight Bible. So I said, okay, we'll just keep doing that, and we'll do something different for you. It hit her differently, I guess, in that. So with that being said, I did not do 11th grade with, sorry, phone's going off. We didn't do 11th grade Bible with Abeka. I honestly, at this point, can't remember exactly what we did with my older son. So I would have to go down and look at my bucket of records to see what we did with him. But for his senior year, we did the Genesis, and we're ready to do the Revelations, because that is what their 12th grade curriculum is. Now I'm going to tell you, they no longer, I think they don't have the, there's no questions for the Revelation, and I can't remember if there were for Genesis. But again, with 3 kids, one of them high functioning ADHD, and that, and rotating through 3 kids, and one of them had read alouds and a lot of discussion, I couldn't keep up with doing that for everybody. So we changed it up. I will tell you, we changed it up, and I'll tell you in a few minutes. So I was not impressed with the 11th grade curriculum for Bible with Abeka, and you can go look that up. I'll leave a link somewhere. And it was just because it just didn't, something just said, this isn't right for our family. It could be a very good curriculum for the right family. I didn't like the way it was laid out, and some of it I was like, we're going to teach that ourselves, just through daily life. So for Genesis, it talks about the main components, the main things that happened in Genesis, the creation, the fall, the flood, and the Tower of Babel. And this is more of, they have a digging deeper section that I do not remember looking at, but I'll show you a screenshot of that here in a while. This is more of a textbook kind of story format. And this tells you how to use the text and everything. And the digging deeper is in there. So it didn't sit well. I honestly don't remember if there was questions to this, and I think I called Becca and asked if I was missing something on the website or whatever, because I just couldn't find the questions, and I needed some discussion question prompts at least, and there were none. I believe there aren't any even in the teacher's manual, and so I remember him going through Genesis, which makes me think that there were questions, or I let him go through and we just talked about each major event a little bit. There's a digging deeper. And so when we went through this, it just didn't, it wasn't working. And so I'm going to move on to the Revelation so that you can see. This is where I said, I'm done. What we did is, and I'm not saying that this is bad, it just wasn't working for us. I didn't have the time to read what they were reading and then ask questions based on the reading, because by that time my brain was tired. I had a kid doing Algebra 1. I had one doing, I think, 5th grade, 6th grade math, and one doing calculus. So I was done for. My brain was exhausted by the time I got done doing all of the maths and all of the other subjects with them, and the read alouds that I was doing with my daughter. And so you can see this one. It's the introduction of the Bible or Book of Revelation. I am certain that this is a good curriculum, a good book in a story format, but there was nothing to be a companion to it. And so what we did is I found a preacher on YouTube, and he did a series on the Book of Revelations, and he did it by like 1 hour segments. I will see if I can't find that playlist again and link it down below for you. What we would do is my son would watch it, and then I could listen to it in the background and we could talk about things. Because I could be doing something else, like grading something or doing the dishes and listening at the same time. And that really helped our family get through that part, because that was a hard one to get through. So you can see it's a lot of history in this. I knew with the type of reading this was, it was not going to help my kid with ADHD, because it's hard enough to get him to read the basics of something that is not electrical mechanical. That is his focus, and that is what triggers his brain. Now, I'm not saying he can't read. He does read. He can read. But if you have an ADHD kid, the focus, if they're not wholly interested in the topic, like dedicated, kind of like hyper-focused on it, it's a struggle to get through. We turned to audiobooks and videos for him when it came to literature and things like that because of his ADHD. He sat, I think, he tried reading Huck Finn, and he still had, he was on chapter like 2 or 3 after like 2 months. And so we just kind of like learned early on that this was not a good approach for him. So this is what we had for our Bible curriculum for the past 7 years, 6-7 years that we've done in that. So I hope this helped you. If you have further questions, feel free to comment them below. I will answer them to the best of my ability. Again, I don't have the Abeka books on hand to reference things anymore, but I will do my best to answer the questions. I can go back and look at maybe some old workbooks if we still have them. But this is what we've done for Bible, and it's what worked for us, and again, what didn't work, and how we solve that problem for that child. And again, do what works for your family. Do what works for your kid. If that means changing it up in the middle, or like say you bought the curriculum and you find out it doesn't work, yes, it is an expense. You can, even online, turn around and sell that curriculum and get another one. And it might set you back a little bit as far as schedule-wise and or money, but this is an investment in our kids' education. And that's the way I've looked at it. And I take what I sell from the previous year, and I take that money and invest it into the next year. So we don't have to, after a couple of years, we didn't have to really like pull $500 or $1,000 out of our budget somewhere to get the curriculum, because again, buy secondhand, sell your old curriculum you're not using. And this is how I was able to educate the 3 kids that I've had on a budget. And I think our average for all 3 kids each year was about $500. Now there were some thin years, and I can talk about that in another video. But I hope this has helped you, and I know it's a little long, so I will answer questions, and I hope this has helped you. I will see you on the next video.